Myanmar sits at one of Asia's most important crossroads. It borders India and Bangladesh to the northwest, China to the northeast, Laos and Thailand to the east, and opens southward to the Bay of Bengal and the Andaman Sea. By land area, it is the largest country in mainland Southeast Asia, with a population of roughly 55 million people. Yet for many viewers outside the region, Myanmar is often known only through crisis, coups, military rule, ethnic conflict, refugees, and protests. That image is real, but incomplete. Myanmar is also a country of ancient cities, powerful kingdoms, strategic trade routes, vast natural resources, and deep cultural diversity. To understand why it has faced so much instability, we need to look beyond headlines and trace how geography, empire, colonialism, ethnic politics, and military power shaped the modern state. Even the country's name carries political meaning. Today, its official name is the Republic of the Union of Myanmar. But for decades, it was widely known in English as Burma, a name used during British colonial rule and officially changed by the military government in 1989. Some countries and activists continued using Burma as a way to reject the legitimacy of the military regime, while others adopted Myanmar in diplomatic usage. The capital is Naypyidaw, a purpose-built city that replaced Yangon as the administrative center in the 2000s. Yangon, formerly Rangoon, remains the largest city and the historic commercial heart of the country. This split between symbolic capitals, colonial legacies, and contested names reflects a broader theme: Myanmar's modern identity has never been simple or universally agreed upon. Long before the modern state existed, the region was home to diverse early civilizations. In Upper Myanmar, the Payas city-states developed along river valleys and trade routes, speaking Tibeto-Burman languages and building urban centers linked to India, China, and Southeast Asia. In Lower Myanmar, Mon kingdoms played a major role in spreading culture, trade, and Buddhism. The Irrawaddy River became a central artery, connecting fertile agricultural lands with inland settlements and coastal exchange. These early societies were not isolated. They absorbed religious, artistic, and political influences from South Asia and beyond. Over time, the foundations of Burmese culture began to form through interaction among different peoples, languages, and belief systems. Myanmar's later history cannot be understood as the story of a single group alone. It began as a mosaic. A major turning point came in the 9th century, when the Bamar people entered the Upper Irrawaddy Valley. By the 1050s, the pagan kingdom had emerged as a powerful center of authority. Pagan helped spread the Burmese language, court culture, and Theravada Buddhism, which became deeply rooted across much of the country. The kingdom built thousands of temples and monasteries, turning Bagan into one of Asia's most remarkable archaeological landscapes. But pagan was not just religiously important, it also created a model of centralized kingship tied to land, labor, irrigation, and Buddhist patronage. Eventually, Mongol invasions weakened the kingdom, and its fall led to centuries of competing states. Still, pagan left a lasting legacy. It gave later rulers a powerful memory of unity, culture, and royal authority. After pagan, Myanmar's territory did not remain unified. Rival kingdoms and regional powers competed for control, especially along river valleys and trade corridors. In the 16th century, the Taungoo dynasty reunified much of the country and briefly built the largest empire in Southeast Asian history. Later, the Konbaung dynasty expanded again in the 18th and early 19th centuries, ruling over modern Myanmar and extending influence into areas such as Assam, Manipur, and the Lushai Hills. These expansions brought prestige, but also danger. As the British East India Company advanced from India, Burmese power collided with British imperial ambition. 3 Anglo-Burmese wars in the 19th century ended with the British taking control. Myanmar was folded into the colonial world, and its political future changed dramatically. British rule reshaped Myanmar in ways that still matter. Colonial administrators governed the lowland Burmese heartland differently from many upland ethnic regions, reinforcing divisions between communities. The economy was reorganized around exports, especially rice, timber, and natural resources, while migrants from India and China became prominent in cities and commerce. Many Burmese felt dispossessed in their own country, and resentment grew. Colonial rule also weakened traditional institutions and replaced royal authority with bureaucracy, law, and military policing. During World War II, Japan briefly occupied the country, and Burmese nationalists initially saw Japan as a possible path out of British rule. But wartime devastation and shifting alliances complicated everything. When independence finally came in 1948 under the Burma Independence Act, Myanmar inherited borders, institutions, and tensions shaped by empire. Independence did not bring lasting peace. The new country faced immediate challenges: communist insurgencies, ethnic armed movements, weak central institutions, and disagreements over federalism and autonomy. Myanmar contains many ethnic groups, and several communities had long-standing demands for self-rule, protection, or recognition. The central government, dominated by Bamar political traditions, struggled to build trust across this diversity. In 1962, General Ne Win seized power in a coup, beginning decades of military dictatorship under the Burma Socialist Program Party. The state nationalized much of the economy, isolated the country, and suppressed dissent. Instead of resolving ethnic conflict, military rule often hardened it. By presenting itself as the only force capable of holding the Union together, the army made national unity a justification for permanent political control. By the late 1980s, economic failure and public anger exploded. In 1988, mass demonstrations known as the 88-88 Uprising demanded democracy and an end to military rule. Students, monks, workers, and ordinary citizens filled the streets. The response was brutal. The army cracked down, killing and imprisoning protesters. A transition to a multi-party system was promised, but the military refused to truly surrender power. Aung San Suu Kyi, daughter of independence leader Aung San, became the most internationally recognized face of the pro-democracy movement. Her party, the National League for Democracy, won major support, but the junta continued to rule. This period created a long pattern. Elections and political openings appeared, but the military kept the final say through force, constitutional controls, and control of key institutions. In 2011, Myanmar seemed to enter a new phase. The military junta was formally dissolved, and a nominally civilian government took office after the 2010 general election. Political prisoners, including Aung San Suu Kyi, were released. Censorship eased, foreign investment increased, and many countries began lifting sanctions. The 2015 general election brought a major victory for the National League for Democracy and raised hopes that Myanmar was finally moving toward democratic government. But the transition had limits from the beginning. The military, known as the Tatmadaw, retained control over key ministries and held constitutionally guaranteed seats in parliament. It remained powerful in security affairs, border regions, and the economy. Myanmar's opening was real, but it was not a complete transfer of power. One of the darkest issues during this period was the treatment of ethnic minorities, especially the Rohingya, a Muslim minority in Rakhine State. Long denied citizenship rights and facing restrictions on movement, education, and livelihoods, the Rohingya became the target of severe military operations. International organizations described the violence as ethnic cleansing, and the article refers to the Rohingya genocide as a continuing source of international tension. Hundreds of thousands fled to Bangladesh, creating one of the world's largest refugee crises. This tragedy exposed a central problem in Myanmar's politics. Democratization for the majority did not automatically mean justice for minorities. It also complicated the global image of Aung San Suu Kyi and the civilian leadership, which faced criticism for failing to stop or condemn abuses. The fragile balance collapsed after the 2020 general election, when the National League for Democracy won another clear majority. In 2021, the Tatmadaw seized power again in a coup d'état, arrested Aung San Suu Kyi, and removed the elected government. The coup triggered nationwide protests, a civil disobedience movement, and widespread resistance. The military responded with violent repression, while armed conflict expanded across the country. Many young protesters joined or supported resistance forces, and long-running ethnic armed organizations became part of a broader anti-junta struggle in different regions. What began as a political crisis became a civil war involving multiple fronts, alliances, and local struggles. Myanmar's state institutions fractured, and daily life for millions became defined by fear, displacement, and economic collapse. The humanitarian consequences have been enormous. Since the coup, hundreds of thousands of people have been displaced across Myanmar, and millions need assistance. By late 2024, the United Nations Refugee Agency counted more than 1.3 million refugees and asylum seekers connected to Myanmar, and around 3.5 million people internally displaced. These numbers represent families leaving burned villages, children losing access to school, patients cut off from medicine, and communities trapped between armed actors. Myanmar also remains one of the world's longest-running civil war zones, because many conflicts did not begin in 2021. They were layered over older disputes about land, identity, resources, federalism, and military domination. The current crisis is therefore not only a sudden breakdown, it is the eruption of unresolved conflicts built up over generations. Myanmar's tragedy is sharpened by its enormous potential. The country is rich in jade, gems, oil, natural gas, teak, minerals, and renewable energy possibilities, including strong solar power potential compared with other countries in the greater Mekong region. It is also strategically placed between South Asia, China, and Southeast Asia, making it important to ASEAN, the East Asia Summit, BIMSTEC, and other regional frameworks. Yet wealth has often benefited military-linked elites and cronies rather than the broader population. Poor infrastructure, corruption, conflict, and underinvestment have kept Myanmar among the world's least developed countries, with one of the widest income gaps. In the end, Myanmar is not poor because it lacks resources or history. It is trapped because power, identity, and wealth have been contested through force rather than shared institutions. If you found this helpful, please like this video and subscribe for more explainers.